Awesome. All right. Well, thanks to you guys that are joining today, because I know it's the Monday before the holiday, which means you guys are super dedicated. You're still focused. I love that. I think that matters more than you know. We are taking next Monday off of the revenue share huddle and the masterminds because it is the week between the two holidays, which tends to be when a lot of people do take some time off. And we hope you're going to be enjoying with family, friends, and also rejuvenating and getting ready for the new year. But then we will be back on track on January 2nd, and we'll have some great conversations. So we hope you guys will be ready to start your year off with us as well. And we'll continue to market all of those things in EXP Family Tree so that you don't forget. This is live streamed in EXP Family Tree. It'll stay there forever. So you can always go back and watch it, tag your friends, people that missed it. And we do record it. We put it on my YouTube channel, which if you just type in my name, Cari Briner, you'll find it. And you can take that YouTube link and go share it with people not with the company, or that you are friends with that, would prefer it in a YouTube link and can't access it through the live stream. So we are doing all of that for you guys because we know a lot of you have found this particular revenue share huddle to be very valuable, especially those of you that do that every single week. And so we're excited for it. Today, our conversation is going to be probably a little bit different because it's going to probably surround a little bit more of the process in which we can talk to people and articulate and also have a resource for more of the financial conversation, which I think is also one of the biggest hangups for people because we don't always know all the details. So it's harder for us to articulate it. So here's the good news. We don't have to know all the things. I've been an expert at not knowing this for the last year and utilizing awesome people like Ashley to help me articulate it correctly to people and not be that expert, not try to know all the things. We've talked about this. We aren't going to know everything. But we should find the people that do know all the things that we need to know so we can surround ourselves with a great team and together we can achieve a lot more. And so I'm super excited about this conversation. So Ashley, will you start with just a quick little bio of yourself and introduce yourself because not everybody here knows you. That would be awesome.
Yeah. So my name is Ashley Golladay. I have been in the real estate industry literally my whole life. My mom was an agent. So I was out before there was an MLS. It was a book or online. It was a book. I would go pick up keys with her. So this is literally all I know. And then I became an MCA at KW. I was at KW for about 16 years. I only did the MCA role for about 4 years before I realized that was not really my true disc profile. I think I was just in like a weird place when I did it because I was really great at teaching other people how to do the job, but I hated doing it every day. That was not my jam. I am full on ADHD and I need change. I crave it. Like nothing about my life is the same every day. So, I actually created a niche consulting company for myself. I traveled all over the country and I would go fix the brokerages basically. And I would help with the financials. I would help with technology. I would help with training and onboarding and just anything that was broken in the brokerage. And so I kind of quickly became the quicker picker upper. And and then I just got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. It didn't matter what role it was. I would end up coaching people and just being like, I just can't do it. Right. And so I had never had my license because I was like that person that didn't want to be my mom. Right. It's like, I just can't do it. And so I finally just got my license for the sole purpose of coming to EXP. So I came here about 3 years ago and that right in the middle of COVID. And so didn't really do a lot, but I took a corporate role a year and a half ago as the growth finance specialist, where we were literally like, this role was created for me. I was not looking for a job. And I read the description and I was like, well, I don't know what I was looking for a friend of mine for a job. And I read the job description. I was like, well, I don't know what she's going to do, but this was made for me kind of thing. And so I was responsible for helping agents like yourselves bring over teams and brokerages and really giving a side-by-side comparison of what that financial effect was to them specifically, not just a generic, well, this is our team structure, these are our caps, our splits, but literally taking their entire actual production levels and their current model and comparing that to the XP model. And so I did that for about a year and a couple months. And then unfortunately, but also fortunately, they eliminated the role, which gives me the freedom now to do a lot more. So when you're staff, it's a little bit different. You have kind of one hand tied up behind your back. And so I'm still doing those same consultations and comparisons. I'm just now charging for it and created my own, consulting gig out of it again. So that seems to be the trend of my life where it's like, oh, I do something and then I go do it on my own. So that's how I got here. and kind of became the EXP brokerage expert just because that's the way my brain works. And my mom was an agent when I was a kid, but my dad was a programmer and a finance guy. And so this is my superpower, is I can speak both languages. And you don't I don't think of it like that, like when I do it, but apparently it's a thing where I'm able to translate for the salesperson what they really need to hear and what really matters to them from a finance standpoint. But then I can do the same thing for the finance and the tech people and go, no, this is what matters and why it matters to the salespeople, and really get that connection on a different level. And so, Cari, like you were saying, the third-party validation in what I do is massive, because money it's scary. People don't like to talk about it. It's hard. And we're talking about their businesses, their livelihood. So, and even for an individual agent, let alone a team or a brokerage, right? That's a bigger business. And so there's way more logistics involved with that, and making sure that they're really making the right decision for their business, for their families, for their agents on the team or in the brokerage. And so that's where I really dig into and show per agent, right? Agents come to me all the time and they're like, hey, I've got a team. They've got 20 agents and we've got, 400 million volume and 600 transactions or whatever it is, right? And they're like, what's the difference? What is that going to look like? And I go, that I can't do that. I'm never going to just average out, because that's going to overdo it for some people and underdo it for others. And that's not fair to anybody to make a massive life business decision on just an arbitrary average of the whole group, because that's the hardest thing about what I do. And Cari, you and I have talked about this a little bit, of trying to automate it, right? Like everyone's like, oh, can I have your spreadsheet? And I'm like, no, I can't give that to you because every single team and brokerage comes from a different current model. And that's the whole thing, is that it's not just about the EXP numbers. It's about, we're looking at what their current situation is, because that's going to dictate the net change that really makes the difference and lets them see visually, hey, my net difference is specifically this. And I can't do that without really verifying and validating where they're coming from. Like, you can't know where you're going until you know where you came from, right? Like, that's the whole premise of what I do, in trying to show them, look, this is where you're at, because half of them don't even know where they're at. Right? Like, they don't even really understand what their true net is, or cost of sales to their brokerage, or, they think, oh, well, my cap is this. Well, they don't really add in or factor in the cap transaction fees or the E&O or, all the things. So I'm really trying to make them come at it from a business standpoint and treat it like a business decision that it is, and show them a true side-by-side comparison. So that's really the biggest I think is making them feel like, hey, I've got an expert, right? So Cari calls me and says, hey, we're talking to this team, talking to this brokerage. Can you help us? And so I say, yes, what's the name of the team or brokerage? And I send them a custom template that they fill out on Google Sheets with their data. And then I get that back. And then I plug in all of our EXP numbers and I say, well, this is because that's the other thing. It's not just about their current model, but where is their production? If they've got a team of 20 people, but only 4 of them are producers, well, that's a different story. It may not be a mega icon team, right? Or I've got a team of 5 people, but every single one of them is an icon agent. And so I'm going to do a self-organized team, right? Because that's a totally different, ball game. And so really trying to figure out what is the best opportunity for this group specifically, and all of the agents in that group, as opposed to, oh, well, you fit the parameters of the mega icon team. Yeah. So that's not always the best case, right? Especially for us as the sponsors, because that limits your rev share opportunity, right? So we want to make sure that we're making the right decision for them. So that's, really where the bulk of that happens, is what is their current model, but also what are their production levels? What's that agent mix look like? Because that's going to dictate that net change as well. And it really is kind of just an insightful eye opener for the team themselves, because half of them are not, measuring their current production anyway. So it's an exercise in and of itself for them to get some clarity on where they're at and who's doing what, because they are flying by the seat of their pants and just blowing and going. And so it kind of makes them slow down and really look at. But then on the back end, it really just makes them realize that they're not really necessarily getting all the value that they think they are, or they're spending way more than they need to. Amy Weaver and I last year did a comparison for Compass Group, and they literally would have saved almost $1 million. Like $980,000 was the difference, because that's the difference between a perpetual split and a cap. And they still didn't come, y'all. Like they still did. I was just like, it's baffling to me because I'm the numbers person. But that's the difference between, like, I used to work in Southern California a lot and did a lot of consulting. Yeah. And they're like, move here, move here, move here. And I'm like, no, no, I can't do that. Like my financial brain just does not compute to pay for scenery, right? Like, but some people they're going to pay for the convenience, and that's they're fine with that. But for others, seeing that in black and white is like just baffling. They're like, oh my God, you're telling me I'm spending this much right now, and I could be saving this much. Like, it's amazing what that looks like, and how just having that clarity is just a light bulb moment, even when they're going to lose money. So so even though that's like one example of, oh my God, they never came, and I can't imagine saying I'm going to willingly continue to spend $1 million that I don't need to spend. You do you, right? That's such a rare occasion. But for the most part, even when I have a negative loss, right? When the brokerage is going to lose 50 grand or 250 grand, or an agent is going to, a team is going to lose 10 grand or 15 grand, we have so much more value. And that's really where I try to work on and close them with you, right? Because they hear you say, oh, we have healthcare. They hear you say, oh, we have rev share. They hear you say this. But that's just you, right? And that's not a tangible, valid thing in their mind. And so when they can see that on paper and hear that from a expert, right? Of like, I'm the financial guru, I'm the expert here, and I'm the third party saying, no, this is real, this is tangible. All of a sudden it means more, right? And they are able to retain that and process that at a totally different level. And so one thing, I haven't even shown you this, Cari, I'm going to share screen and see if I can make sure.
While you're sharing the screen, a couple of things that have been super valuable. And for those of you that know, I'm now here for just like a year and a month. And, you know, it has been some great growth. We're just under 150 people in our organization, but really like a ton of people joining like right as we speak. So the compounding effect is just now really starting to pick up for me. Most of my conversations with top producers and or teams of any size and or broker owners of any size has been that I've done this third party call. Because the other piece that I think you have to understand that is so important is, number one, you have the personal relationship with them. You don't need to know all of those details. And sometimes they feel more comfortable also sharing all of that with somebody else who is that expert. And it shows that we have support at EXP of people who can help us. And it shows that we can find someone like Ashley who is not going to financially directly benefit through revenue share by having this conversation. Ashley is likely not in any of your uplines. And if she is, a few, maybe, but it's most of us, she's not going to financially benefit if this person joins. I start the conversation out when I ask them to do this call with Ashley and I tell them, she is a third party expert. She's really good at what she does. She came from the corporate side. She understands that she's been in real estate for all of this time. Here's her unique value proposition. And oh, by the way, she does not care if you come to EXP or not. Now, as an agent owner, ultimately, she'd love you to come because we're all shareholders and we're all agent owners. But she doesn't directly benefit if you do or not. So she's not coming into this conversation to sell you. She's coming into this conversation to educate you so you can make your own decision. No one likes to be sold. We need to have them all make it their own idea, because that's when they're going to buy into it and do it. And the only way we can make it their own idea is by providing them with information so that they know what they need to know to make the decision. So it's this information, and it's also the expenses that Ashley's going to look at, their whole P&L. What can we eliminate from their expenses? As we're going into a shifting market, they should be looking at, am I spending money I don't need to spend? And I think more and more people are going to be looking at that. So I just wanted to bring that up, Ashley, because it's so important to understand the right fit within EXP between self-organized, standard, mega, all the things. But it's also so important for them to understand, if I came here, what risk do I mitigate? What expenses do I release? What time do I buy back so I can go grow more? Who do I get to partner with that becomes partners of mine that I don't even have to pay, that will help me grow? Like, how does this expand my life and my business? Because historically, some of the greatest companies have grown in a downturn of a market, but they haven't done it alone. And we need to get them in a place and around the people where they have the time and the resources and the money and the people around them to do it. And I believe for a lot of people, that's EXP. So if we can get them to just say yes to a third party call, someone that isn't going to be in their upline, that's not going to be selling them, use this script. That's how I honestly, you guys, very rarely have somebody say they won't do it. If I ask and I explain it this way, and then once we show them this, then it's like, okay, their curiosity is piqued. They understand a little bit more. And now we can move forward with our relationship to see what they need next. Okay. Thank you for letting me hear that.
We're really trying to give them a roadmap, right? Because you can say, hey, oh, you could do a standard team, or oh, you could do a mega icon team, and send them that template or that little, outline of PDF. But reading that does not translate to what does that look like financially for each of my agents or myself. And so it's almost like, and this is the concept that I'm working on, is you're offering them a CMA for their business, right? So we've talked about this, Cari, I think that's the hook, right? Is I have someone who can show you specifically what the value is to you. And just like we do with sellers and their homes, and going, hey, this is the value of your home. We go, hey, this is you getting some insights around your business. If nothing else, you walk away with clarity and transparency on where you're at currently, what your agents are doing, production levels, and you get a little bit of time with, it's almost like a coaching session. You go, hey,
literally, can I offer you a free consulting session about your company, your business, and your financials? Even if you don't come to EXP, I would love to offer this to you because I'm your friend. We have a good relationship and no strings attached, but I'd really be honored if you give us opportunity. I think it'll help your business, and maybe it will spark some interest in EXP, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. And now you are offering them something of value, you guys. How many of you would go talk to somebody if you had that to offer them?
And especially for the brokerages. So back what you're saying about the P&L, right? So that's kind of the second piece of what I do is I always start with the production and going, hey, this is what it would look like at EXP. This is where your current model is, validating all of that. And then for the brokerage, and even just a team leader, right? The net difference for them is really just the gross revenue difference. Until we get the P&L, we're not really showing a net for a broker or a team leader, because I don't know what their costs are. I don't know what they're paying for, what systems, what logistics, payroll, all of those things. So it's really just the gross revenue for them that we're showing them. And then we go into the P&L exercise. And this is where I think even more so the third party, because especially for agents who, yes, maybe you have a team and you've been an agent for a very long time, but if you've never been on staff on a brokerage on the back end and seen how the brokerage runs and the problems of staffing that and running that and the logistics and day-to-day, no offense, I am an agent now, so I can say this, and I get worse with the ADD the older I get, but when people used to ask me what I did for a living, I would tell them I ran an adult daycare, right? Because it is herding cats, all of those things. It is a logistical beating, really. It's rough. And so you're not able to see their pain points as easily as myself, because I can hear them say something like, oh, I really am trying to, the training is just really killing me right now, or something like that, where it's just like a random one-off comment. But to me, I can dig into that and pick that apart and make that really the whole decision, right? And go, oh, this is their pain point. And so that's really where my experience and background, I'm able to connect with them on the brokerage side so much at such a higher level, because I know where they're at. And half the time it's not about the money, even though I'm showing them the money, they're going to lose thousands of dollars, and we're still getting them to join, guys, because of those intangibles. So one of the stories I tell, or I can't think of the word right now. It's Monday and I haven't had any caffeine, so don't judge me. So I always use this in my calls. I'm like, listen, there is an intangible priceless amount that I can't tell you you're going to get back with your time, your energy, your sanity, all those things. And I say, it's like the MasterCard commercials, the old ones. So I am old enough to remember this. Some people are not, maybe. But it was like $50 for flowers, $200 for a night out. But the time together and the memories are priceless, right? That's really what we're trying to get down to as well in the conversation is, what is that intangible? Because there is one for everyone. And it may be the compliance, it may be the staff, it may be the training, it may be the lead gen, it could be 100 different things for everyone, but really trying to figure that out with them And they're a little bit more likely to open up to me than they are to you necessarily and admit some of those things. So it really does become a full-on coaching call and experience with them. All right, I'm going to show and walk through this team. This is a team. So everything in gray is the data that they provide to me of what their current model is. Okay, so this is actually a KW team. The team leader does a ton of the volume, obviously. He's got a couple agents doing a little bit more, but then for the most part, not very high producing team. Okay. And so I go through and I say, all right, this is the cap, but this is what they're actually paying into the cap. So a lot of times they just assume that all of their team, in fact, this team leader said this to me. She goes, oh, well, my whole team caps. And I was like, no, they don't. These 4 agents are not capping. They're not capping on company dollar and they're not capping on Realty, right? And so seeing this in black and white, it gives them those ahas of, oh, maybe I need to get Kendall and these guys into a little bit more training, or maybe hold them accountable at a different level, right? So I walk them through and validate, like, okay, this is all of your current costs and expenses and income and everything, and this is what it is. And then I show them, hey, this is what that looks like at EXP on a standard team. I also have the mega icon team for this one, if they're close and that as an option, but not necessarily, already there. So I can do multiple situations and scenarios of, hey, this is a definite, but you're close. Let's look at this. And then I sum it up and go, here's the net difference. If you do nothing else from a production standpoint, here's the net difference. Now, this one's a great one because everybody's in green, but there are plenty like this one where there's a lot of them in red, right? And so we can show them, hey, this is not where it ends though, right? So for EXP, it's kind of like going from, in every other brokerage, it's coming from a single course meat and potatoes kind of meal to EXP is a 7-course meal, right? Because it's not just about, we are so conditioned to what's the cap, what's the split, what's my transaction fee, what's my office bill, right? Like those are the only things that everybody's talking about because that's all they have to talk about. That's their whole value proposition. Whereas here we can go, oh, but wait, there's more, right? Like there's always more. So what I started doing is saying, okay, if you have agents that want to participate in rev share and they go out and get 3 agents and that brings in about $1,800 a year for them, then that goes back into that agent's pocket. If they participate in healthcare, and even though our average savings is $800 a month for getting healthcare, that if they only save $200 a month, that's $2,400 back in their pocket. I can take them from, yes, for production only.
Sorry, it took me a minute to mute.
I tried. I was like, oh, I don't have the option.
I was like trying to do it. It wouldn't work. Sorry, Ashley.
It happens every time, right? So I can take them and show them from, yes, even from a production standpoint, they might be losing some. But once we start giving them the value of EXP and just a couple of these things that are financially tangible, and 3 agents is completely realistic and $200 a month is completely realistic, right? This is not just some arbitrary, I'm just like throwing them the moon, right? These are very real savings that every agent can participate in. And so that's what this would take their net difference to as a whole. So really starting to give them this visualization around what it means to them and why. And so even like this team leader here is going to lose money no matter what, basically, right? Like he's out money no matter what. But all of his agents are not only gaining financially here, but now they're tapping into the EXP platform, right? They've got 80 hours of training a week. They've got the 87,000 agents in referrals now that they get to tap into. And they have all of these things that those brokerages can never get to. They're never going to be able to provide that to them. So that's where a lot of brokerages and even team leaders that might lose some, they're still coming because they see the opportunity to build a business with their agents and to be in partnership as opposed to in competition. Because really every broker owner is in competition with every agent at their brokerage because most of them are in production themselves and they're taking a piece of that production no matter what, because they have to make their money. And so here, that's the most beautiful thing. Because of RevShare, we're not in competition anymore. We're in partnership. And so we get to build businesses with them as opposed to brokerages are so focused on they're hemorrhaging, right? Everything is going up, and they're so focused on keeping the doors open for the brokerage that they don't get to have that mindset of being in partnership with their agents. They're just worried about warm bodies and, you know, how many caps and what that looks like. Right. And so this is really truly showing them how do they get in partnership with their people, and they're not in competition anymore. So that's pretty much everything as far as the broker team, you know, financial comparisons. I wanted to, if you're okay, or we can either do all questions at the end, but I also want to share with you guys. So one of the things I preach about on a soapbox all the time is how rev share is not passive income, right? Rev share is not it's not a byproduct, right? It is an active business, and you either need to be treating it like a business or don't expect that it becomes this massive amount of income, because if you don't treat it like a business, you're not going to get the results without that. And so I kind of wanted to go over something that I created for treating it like a business for you guys. So if you're okay, anything else you want to go over, want me to go over about the?
No, that sounds good. And I know we'll probably have some good questions. So if you want to go over that, and then Becky, I know we'll probably have some thoughts and questions as well as anybody else. So if that works for me, if that works for you.
Perfect. So I hope you guys have all been a part of the business planning clinics, right? So those are really, really crucial in career production, right? And knowing and having transparency and clarity around the production of the team, what your goals are, your expenses, all of those things. So what I did is I took the business planning, goals worksheet for production, right? So I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. This is the one I use, but basically you put in your end goal of what you want to make in the following year, and then it tells you exactly how many people you need to talk to daily, weekly, monthly, all of that in order to accomplish that, right? So I took that same concept and I said, all right, let's apply it to rev share. So treating the rev share as if it were a business model, what will it take to produce those results, right? So I'm not going to go through the whole thing and do a business planning clinic, but I'm going to walk through and just show you, if I want to make $25,000 in the next 12 months in rev share, I'm already earning $5,000 per year in rev share. Okay. So my total will be 30 grand in the next 12 months. Okay. I think this is super tangible. This is very realistic. It's not like, oh, you're going to make $1 million a month. You can plug that in if you want, but I don't want to know what that looks like. Just realistically, we're starting out from, very little or nothing. You could say, hey, I make $0 right now in rev share, wherever you're starting in your journey. Right. And I only put in 3 days a week and 4 hours a day. So half a day a week, or 3 times a week, half a day. And then how many weeks per year I want to work, and really just, hey, this is what this looks like. If I want to make $25,000 a year in rev share, okay, then I need to attract 45 individual agents and 5 teams or brokerages. Okay. Now, this is not 7 levels deep. This is not the, max rev share. This is just average rev share payouts, average number of agents to produce those results. Okay. And they are very conservative, way, way, way under. And if you did this, if you brought in 50 people, then you'd probably do a lot more than that. Okay. But I just wanted to give a conservative expectation of, let's treat it like a business. Let's set some goals, because we know that when you do this and you get clarity on here's the goal and you write the goal down, you're 47% more likely to achieve it. Right. And so my challenge is, if you guys are here in this rev share, then you're already serious and purposeful about it. And so get an accountability partner and do this exercise and share it with someone, because when you share your goals, that takes you to almost 70% more likely to achieve them. So that's where I want people to use this, and then also start coaching with it and being, transparent and saying, hey, this is what I want to do. So for this to, make $25,000, I'm setting 100 appointments. I need to call 422 people. That includes the teams and the brokerages and the individual agents. That's 12 per workday. And remember, these are half a days and only 3 days a week. So I'm not saying, oh, this has to be a full-time job, right? 12 per workday, 4 per hour. That's 12 people, I'm dialing to try and set these appointments. And so if I need to attract 5 teams of brokerages, then I'm going to dial 50 people to get there. And you guys can go in and adjust your own, like you may know your closing ratios or your dials to sets, or, you know, like yours are going to be different. I'm just putting in some generic averages here to start with that I think are pretty close as far as industry wide. And this will tell you exactly what you need to do. And that I'm going to talk to and do 1 team or brokerage presentation a week. And I'm going to do 8 rev share individual agents per week. Okay. I don't think that's unrealistic in an expectation of 8 people if I'm working 3 half days a week, right? And I'm literally just making phone calls and doing appointments for half a day, 3 times a week, right? And so this is just my brain turning this into a purposeful business model, and people feeling like, oh, I can break that off into chunks, right? Because people go, oh, I want to make 100 grand a year. Oh, I want to make $1 million a year in rev share. But we don't have a roadmap of how to do that necessarily. And so I just took the same concept for the production piece and said, all right, let's apply it to rev share. Please don't come for me with my formulas or assumptions. Like, this is just a very, very basic thing. Okay. Some of you are going to be like, that's way too high, or that's way too low compared to where you're at now. But this is what I know to be true about most rev share data and organizations and payouts and everything. So that I will give you the link to this, Cari, so you can post it in the family tree and with this recording. And then that way you guys can, and I'm going to do a blank copy as well. I just need to add that tab, copy it. And then that way you guys can plug in your own, download your own copy and create. And that's why I'm glad, this is why I picked today and not next year, is so that people could have a chance to, if you really are serious about rev share, and if you're here, that's why you're here, and you're already being purposeful about it, that this could help you kind of create that roadmap and that goal planning for 2023 to accomplish what you want to in rev share. So
that is awesome. I'm going to post this huge value. Steve Jones, who's in the call, just mentioned that when he brought his brokerage over to EXP, Ashley did this for them and gave him a tremendous amount of comfort to make the switch, and that, you know, she's great. If you can unmute yourself at all, I think what a great conversation would be, Steve, you know, how did this help you? How did your sponsor help you to feel comfortable to do this call with Ashley? What was the most important for you in learning from this financial conversation? Because I think coming directly from somebody who did this, just hearing your perspective is helpful for all of us.
Sure. So I'm a high C, and I had my spreadsheet that was similar to this, and I knew my numbers, and I knew I'd lose money, just like Ashley said. But I wasn't quite figuring it out. And she gave me her spreadsheet, and her numbers were about the same. So I knew that I was on track, and that gave me comfort to do it. She also kind of gave me the thought of how to get out of that hole with a plan. So very important. To a high C, that worked great. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
So Steve, what were some of the things, what was your motivation knowing that you would temporarily lose money as a broker owner? Because some broker owners do, because maybe they're charging different splits, and obviously now bringing into EXP, there's money going to EXP. And so growth is part of that, restructuring probably different parts of your business is part of that, knowing that you now have no geographical limits, all the things. So what was it for you that you were like, you know, this is still a motivation. I still want to change because this isn't working for me, but how do I now switch my business? What have you done? I'm just curious. And how is it going?
Well, what made it work was our brokerage started in 1978, and I've been doing this 28 years. And I got 2 of those letters from the Real Estate Commission within 2 years. So both were fine, both went away, but the EXP taking that burden off the brokerage side was tremendous. And also said to somebody, I don't want to be an old man sitting in an office by myself, but I don't have the energy to train agents like they should be trained. So those pieces of EXP took it over the top for me.
That's awesome.
We've doubled in 5 months. We've doubled our agent count. So everything's working.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
Doubled his agent count in 6 months or 5 months, you guys, because of making the switch. So, you know, a lot of broker owners don't realize that they're holding themselves back in growth because they just don't know, you don't know what you don't know. You're used to doing what you're doing. And then you go, wow, now I have all of these things that I can leverage, and I can go and bring us extra value, and I can still be myself. People like me, they like this, they like the brand, but I can't give all of this stuff to agents. I'm only one person. I'm not a whole big company. I can't compete against this. So why don't I join them and then combine me and what I have to offer with what EXE has to offer, and then we're going to explode. You know, interestingly, my husband brought his real estate team over, and they have gone from like 15 agents to 25 in just this 1 year. I mean, they changed a few things in their model, which they were allowed to do because, and able to financially do because of EXP. But, you know, the healthcare, just a lot of the things have made a big difference. And I've seen this now in multiple people. So 2 things you said, Steve, Jeremy Worley, who is on this call often, he brought his brokerage of 30 agents over. He said the exact same thing. The amount of challenges in the new way we're doing business, and when growth occurs and you do more transactions, the probability of liability goes up, and there's just things changing in our industry that it's making it a lot more difficult for broker owners, lots more challenges to deal with. He said it was sucking the life out of him.
Yeah.
And he literally just couldn't do what he loved to do. He was just doing that. And it's like, just that, think of the bandwidth, the energy, and the time that you get back, that you can go focus on something else. Yeah.
What happens is, and I know this to be true in every brokerage, doesn't matter what the brand is, 99% of broker owners were agents, and they were great at being an agent, and they just happen to have enough capital to buy a business, right? Or start a business and buy a franchise, whatever their model is. They have no business most of the time running a business. Steve is an exception because he's a super high C, right? But most of the time we have super high D, high people, don't understand business, and they're like, oh, but I don't want to be, you know, I don't want somebody else telling me how to do my business, so I'm going to do it on my own. They don't realize what they're signing up for, guys. They don't understand the amount of time, energy, and effort it takes logistically to manage and operate the agents in the business. So they're miserable, guys. They are so miserable and struggling, and that's where, again, the third party being able to come in and go, why are you doing the same thing expecting a different result? Right. And so I talked to them about, hey, Steve, if you want to stay there, good for you. You could double, triple, quadruple the size, 10x the size of your brokerage, but you're not going to 10x the size of your profits, because the amount of time, energy, and effort and payroll and cost it takes to build on your own without a platform like EXP, you're not going to get to keep what you're building. And so you're going to be in the same place that you are right now, 5 years from now, even though you're growing it, but you're not going to be 10xing financially. And so that is a lot of the conversation, is drilling into and figuring out what does it mean to them, and what are they struggling with, because we don't come from business America, right? Corporate America with degrees and all this business experience and planning, and we're just making it and winging it as we go. And that's where most brokerages are at. They don't know. Somebody said in the chat, they don't even know where they're at. The brokerages don't. I can't tell you how many of them don't have a P&L, especially independents, because they're not required to by anybody, right? And even the franchises that think they have P&Ls, they don't have real P&Ls. I assure you that. They're bad. They have no idea they're not. I've seen so many broker owners that don't even know the difference between cash flow and profits, right? And so it's really, really trying to educate around, your life doesn't have to stay this way. Let EXP take on the operational and the logistics of the business. You get back to being in relationship with the agents, which is what you really love. You are high I, you are super high D, and you want to teach them and show them. And now you get to get back into that part that you love, instead of being bogged down by all of the day-to-day ops and not the fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's how all of a sudden you have bandwidth to double your size. And that's the difference. That's why they're not doubling their size. And then they're not also improving their financials and having a better quality of life. Becky, I'd be curious to know if you have something to add to this, because, you know, you are coaching many broker owners. You have recruited many broker owners and team leaders. And you and I always talk about this. It's like owners of teams and brokerages don't realize how much doing all the things and taking it all on literally limits their growth. And then they got into this for freedom of time and money and opportunity. And they end up selling more real estate, managing people, having less time, making less money, having more stress. And this really can be a solution, not for everyone, but for some people, this can literally change their lives and their businesses.
Yeah, what I think is really important about what Ashley says, thanks, Cari, is that one, agree 100%. When I pulled in and got into relationship with brokers in my previous life and brought them into the franchise company that I was with, the number one reason for doing it was they did not want the responsibility of the broker anymore. They did not want to spend the kind of money that they needed to spend for compliance, admins, etc. The third reason is that the agents continue to want more and more and more for less. And the broker doesn't have it to give them, right? They may not even have the experience. They certainly don't have the time, right? And so I think those are the top three. Rarely, I don't think ever has it ever been for the money, because as Steve said, and as you know, the broker is going to take a little bit of loss. But here's the thing, when someone is in enough pain, they're willing to do whatever it takes to get out of that pain and get into something better. And if you can show them a way that they can be made whole pretty quickly, they'll take the opportunity to go. I think the second thing that's really important to point out here is that this needs to be 100% about them. And there's going to be times when it's not the right move or it's not the right time. And I think that's really, really important, that it's the right move and it's the right time. It's the right thing for them, because the last thing you want to do is to take the responsibility to disrupt someone's business, knowing that it may not be the right thing for them. And then they get into the situation and it's just no good for anybody, right? So that is really, in my opinion, one of the key reasons why Ashley should be brought in on any call that you're having with a broker or someone who owns a team. This is her area of expertise, and she can actually get down into the numbers with them so that they can truly understand what the cost benefit is going to be on their pocketbook and what it's going to mean in the first 6 to 8 months versus what will happen. Like Steve said, he's doubled his agent count in 5 months. Well, that's great. That's awesome. You got rev share coming in, all of these different things, but you kind of need to know what to go after. So that's the first thing I would say, is that 9 times out of 10, the motivation is, I don't want these responsibilities anymore. I don't want to spend the money to have to cover myself in these responsibilities. And agents want more and more and more. And I don't have the ability to give it to them. I need to connect with a company that's going to be able to provide that, right? So that's what I would say first.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. It's a zero-sum game, guys. Brokerages are every day, it's about what can we give more for less. And agents, I mean, 100% transaction brokerages, I've brought those over. You would think flat fee would be a completely hard pass, no one's going to join. No, we can still compete with that. Right. Yeah. And so that is one of the hardest things about running a brokerage from a business standpoint, is that let's just put it this way. How many industries do you know that have not increased their prices because of inflation and cost of living and, the economy and whatever, just in the last 2 years, let alone in the last 20 to 50 years? It's unheard of. Every other industry is like, oh, prices are going up. Sorry, customer, because brokerages are not in the real estate business. This is one of the biggest misconceptions, guys. Brokerages are in the customer service agent business. The agents are the transactions to the brokerage. Most brokerages don't even realize that they're really needing to be in a customer service business. Because they have to be so focused and they are liable for the transactional side, that ends up consuming the time and the energy and the effort and the processes and the systems that get put in place. But really, it's about the customer service and the relationship. And so when you're playing a zero-sum game against everybody else, it's hard to run a business and make it profitable. And so that's why the Icon program works, is because most other brokerages go to their training and they go, how much money can we make off of training? Because we can't charge it for the cap and the split. So how much can we charge for training? And then those people that are training and teaching are like, how much are you going to pay me for my expertise? And so that's the brilliance of the Icon program here is you get the 16,000 back for giving into and sharing with everybody else. And that's your reward. And then the company didn't have to pay tens of thousands of dollars for you to come in and teach a class for a day, right?
Mhm.
It's the most brilliant thing for everyone. And that's where agent ownership just validates itself over and over again, because we're playing that game at a much higher level than anybody else, because nobody else.
Allison. Or Ashley, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Nobody can get out of that hamster wheel of just, hey, I got to increase the cap. I know a couple brokerages that have actually done it this year. They're increasing the fees. It's just not heard of very often in real estate. It's one of the few industries where no, our caps have gone down. We're constantly having to reiterate ourselves because of new models that we're, now trying to compete with. And it's just so backwards from almost every other industry and the idea of making money in a business, So I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's a huge part of these conversations is, listen, you're going to be having to keep up with the technology. Half of them are not paying for CRMs. It's mind blowing to me how many agents operate without a CRM, without any kind of lead generation, without any kind of system. Because if the brokerage doesn't provide it, half of them don't even know how to go out there and get it on their own, or they can't afford to get it on their own because it's so expensive. And so those are key points into, hey, having that conversation about the P&L. Right? Is what are you spending on a CRM system? Are you paying for leads? Are you, providing anything of value to them? Or is it just they go off and are expected to solve all those problems themselves? One thing I wanted to point out too, I said earlier, reading the team explanations of the cap and the split for a mega icon and what it doesn't translate. They have to walk away from their current revenue, especially brokerage, right? It's that, hey, I can't get my 30% anymore. I have to give it all up. And if you were to do that for every team in brokerage, RevShare would never compete, right? It would take years and years before RevShare could replace their current brokerage income. And so that's really what we're doing. What I'm doing too is, what are they currently getting, right? What's the brokerage the split and the cap of the situation? And then what can they get on a hybrid being a team at EXP? Because they're no longer the broker in charge, but they get to be a brokerage within a brokerage. And they don't know that, guys. They just assume that they have to give up all of their revenue. And they're like, I can't keep the brick and mortar. I can't pay for rent. I can't pay for this. And so that's really a lot of this exercise as well, is giving them the transparency of, cool, guys, you're getting 30% now. You're going to be a team and you're going to get 20%. So your gross revenue change is only a 10% drop in revenue. You can still pay all your bills. You may not, necessarily profit as much, but you can still keep the doors open. And you can give yourself the time, the 1 to 2 years, to build up RevShare and to get more stock awards and take part of the equity program and all of the things EXP. And then you're going to be back in the black. So that's the other big key point of this is, don't let them assume anything, right? Because that's where they make an ass out of themselves, of you and me, both of us, and we all lose. So don't just send them a video, or don't just send them the PDF that explains teams and go, oh, you can be a team and whatever. No, that does not translate. Okay.
No. Well, that's the thing. Oh, you're muted, Ashley. I don't know what happened there. You just clicked over. Oh, still muted.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is that this is just, I think if we just throw out the details of here's the teams, here's this, here's that, it devalues. I mean, it shows that that it's like a one size fits all, and there's no such thing for business ownership. And so I think that's where we just say, look, I don't want to just throw this stuff out at you and just that's not going to do you any service. So you know what? I really like you. We have a good relationship. Let's just do this, because it's the way that you're going to actually know the real opportunity for you. And whether you say yes or no, I don't care at this point. I just want you to know what this actually means for you, because I'm just going to do you a disservice if I just throw some things out to you and then there's a bunch of assumptions being made that aren't even true. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to do that to you, because it makes no sense. It's not going to help either of us. And I think if you come from that detached, like, I am not attached to the outcome, I just want to do this the right way, because like we're never going to get to a decision if we don't anyway, then they don't feel like they're wasting your time. I think most people get nervous about wasting your time. If they don't feel like, "Oh, I just don't know if I'm going to do it. So I don't want to waste your time and then waste your money and then go on this whole call with Ashley." And, if you can really overcome that objection from the beginning, which is, look, Ashley, you probably feel like you're going to waste my time and this is going to be a waste of money. I'm just here to tell you, I don't care about any of that. I want to do this for you and with you because I care about you as a friend. We have a good relationship. I honestly believe that it's going to be important for you to go through this process just to understand some things regardless of the outcome. And so I'm okay with it. So I think we should just do it and just see what you think. And you know what, no matter what, I think you're going to get some value for your business. Does that, are you good with that? I think we just got to come out and say that, and then they can let their guard down and go, okay, Ashley's not going to be mad at me if I don't join and I go through this whole process. And you know what, maybe they don't join today, but if you plant the seed and they have a true understanding, they may join in 3 months or 6 months. And who are they going to call if they do? Because they're going to appreciate that you took the time, even though you didn't have an attachment to the outcome. And I found that to be true for me multiple times so far.
Well, that's exactly what happened with me with Cari. Cari, I had, just so you guys know, I had at least since 2018, I've had at least 5 people call me, different people call me about EXP, and people that I knew, not just random people that I knew I have relationships with, and I wasn't interested. And Cari was the first one because I am, a recruiter. And Cari was the first one to say, you know what, let me just bring in someone that is not in my revenue share group to show you what it looks like in the numbers. And I was like, no, I don't want to waste your time. I'm just not ready for that. I said the whole thing. And she said, no, really. And it's not a waste of time. I learned something every time we do this. We did it. My eyes were opened, but I had a lot of stuff on the back end I had to work out. And it was 6 months, Cari, 6 months before I kind of got back in touch and said, okay, I'm ready to talk now. And the thing about it is once they see it, they can't unsee it. That's what I always say. So just, be persistent. People tell you no because they don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And even though they know they need to change or they need to do something different, changing means being uncomfortable. So the numbers are an excellent way, especially for someone who's running a business. They're the ones writing the checks. They need to see that.
Yeah. And I knew that there's a good chance Becky was not coming over right away. I knew that. She told me, and I was okay with that. I still believe she needed to see it because I did believe it was going to change her business and her life. And I just believed in it. And so I was coming from a place of, yes, I learn every time. And by the way, I learn every single time I go on these calls, and I absolutely love it. And I believe it has helped me in my agent attraction 110% anyway. So I get value from this, you guys. This is not a waste of my time, truly. So I believe that. And Becky could sense that that was true. I wasn't lying about that. That was true. And it made her be willing to do it. But then I have to let her go through her own process. And so I have to give space. I have to believe that I'm planting seeds and they are all going to bloom at the time that they're supposed to, these plants, right? And it's true. They do. People just call randomly all the time because they're like, Cari, you know what? I'm ready to talk now. And so it's the unattachment to the outcome. It's the true transparency, being willing to share, not, having something attached to it, and really just taking it as an opportunity for you to become better and learn as well. Then you aren't wasting your time or your money. You're giving back to yourself no matter if the person joins or not, but you truly are building something that's going to, I think come forward in the future. And I've seen that for myself, and I've seen it for others. So I truly believe in that. So let's open it up for any other questions or thoughts or comments. Just unmute yourselves, you guys, because Ashley's here for the next couple of minutes to do that. And we're going to put her contact information here. Or Ashley, can you tap it? Tap it. Can you put it in the chat?
Can you tap it in the chat?
It is Monday. Tap in your.
Hey, hi, my name is Damian Forza. How's everyone doing?
Hi, Damian.
Good. Sorry, I'm driving right now. This is an amazing conversation. I really wish I had an opportunity to know you guys a lot sooner. I had an opportunity to talk to a broker that about 20 agents that have completely, when it comes to giving their all to their agents. I am currently the state broker for Montana, and we talked about it. And I thought I had a really good plan to help him. We talked more about his wants, his needs, his pain points. Talked a lot about him. I know how that works, right? And so, but at the end of the day, they're very dedicated to their agents, which is amazing. His agents are completely dedicated to him, and I couldn't move with him. I didn't know what it is. I didn't talk a lot of numbers. At the end of the day, I felt I babbled a lot about the icon and our splits and everything else. But he saw it, but he wasn't moving. My question, I guess, is there another time that's best to come back to him? And maybe actually, I don't know, I'll pay any one of you guys to help me to have a conversation with him again. That's my question, I guess. When is the best time to go back to him?
So I always, when you don't know that I existed and now that you do, I always use me as the excuse, right? Go, hey, I know we've talked a lot, but I just found this, amazing resource that is this independent consultant who can help us with your specific brokerage or team and where you're at and show you the opportunity specifically and get into the nitty gritty of the numbers. So use that as an excuse to reach back out and go, I have a new resource in my tool bag. And so I want to get you in front of this person, right? The other times for me are end of year, because every brokerage is going to lose a lot of agents right now because board dues are in MLS dues and all of those things. So attrition and retention are massive right now. So end of year, beginning of year is always a really good time. The other time would be in April when taxes are due, or March for businesses, because when they are cutting that big check or they're, really looking at their numbers and they have all that ready to go, the P&L is done because the CPA required it. That's another really good time.
Awesome. Thank you. So don't be surprised if you hear from me in about 2 months.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Mark asked earlier if I would share, I think he was talking about the example one. I'm working on some white label examples of teams that we could, just put into a 1-page PDF for everybody. So as soon as I can get those with a few different examples of standard team, self-board, mega icon, whatever, I will definitely post those in Family Tree for everybody for sure.
Awesome. And the free thing that you were going to give to us all, I can, if you want to post it in Family Tree under this live stream, that'd be awesome.
I will. I'll put
That would be great, because then you guys will see Ashley in Workplace and you can find her, you can work chat her. She put her email here. And those are all the ways that you can get in touch with her if you do have somebody that you would like her to help you with.
Disclosure out there, please don't email me. The only time I check email is somebody sent me numbers and there's an attachment. Okay. Text me or hit me up on Workplace. I am way faster at that than any emails. So don't be mad when I don't see your email. Okay.
Yes. Work chat is better. That's how we communicate here at EXP. So the better we get into that, the better it is. So that's amazing. Any last comments? Because we're at our time. Did we miss anybody that had something that you're frustrated we didn't see your email or your message? Anyone? All right. Also,
Merry Christmas.
yes, Sean, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I was just going to end with that. We won't see you next week, so please enjoy the holiday season. We'll get Ashley back here in the new year as well to do maybe some specific topics, a Q&A. Hey, I have somebody. What do you think? We will get her back on, so watch for that. But in the meantime, we'll add some things to this live stream in Workplace as we have things. So that's where you can find it. And don't forget that you can always watch the recording this or send it to somebody else if you want to from YouTube. Thanks you guys so much for everything.
Bye,
Ashley, thanks for being here. Bye, Becky. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was amazing. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.